Thank you for joining us here at One Kingdom Worldwide as we share the greatest love story ever told in support of the God-led life. Welcome to Section 1, Essential Scriptural Context that has been lost down through the ages. In the previous episode, we asked the diagnostic question, can we call each other on our attitudes? Well, we talked about that with folks who call themselves Talmudim and those that don't. And those that do, we should be able to say, what I see happening here in a gentle way is not Talmudic. But when we're dealing with folks that do not claim to know the Lord and are living in these other ways as described in the last episode and in previous episodes, we've got some work to do to be able to stay in our peace and to ask God for peace. But this was more an individual situation. What about the group situation? What about the work situation? What about the family situation or a group of friends or playground friends, folks that you hang out with? How do you do that? Well, it'll be easier if we just talk about the work setting, because most of us have group settings in which we work. Well, in a previous episode, I mentioned 3 books. I'm going to mention the third one again here now. Pat Lencioni's book, The Advantage. Pat does a great job of helping us with conversations with problematic people in the work environment. How to approach them. He does a great job of sharing stories of people being successful at it and people being unsuccessful at it. And he does a wonderful job. And more so than anything else, that we can be leaders in our groups, even though we're not the leader. Maybe we're one of the leaders, or maybe we're under leaders because we're in a hierarchical business setting. And so what begins to show up is the grace of God and the wisdom of God in us. And then we begin to affect others. How do we do that? Well, he does a great job of explaining it, but if you want to understand the problem, don't start in the middle. If you don't know your history, as we said, you are condemned to repeat it. I told you as a consultant I learned that I've got to go all the way back to the beginning. I have to look at the organizational structure. I have to look at the operating system that then developed a culture. And so if you will be successful in your business environment, you need to do the same thing. Is the whole place set up hierarchically in such a fashion that there's dictatorial approaches, authority and control, leverage, intimidation, the kind of thing that says, I'm threatening your livelihood, and if you don't do as I say and you lose your job, that's a great leverage for me, because I know that I can probably get you to do what I want you to do so that you keep putting food on the table and a roof over your family's head. This is a frequently used leverage. Subtle. Sometimes not so subtle. Sometimes just plain in your face. You do it or you're fired. So, if we start in the middle, we don't have a solution. If we start in the beginning and we begin to recognize that the structure, the hierarchical structure in which we operate, and the operating system that is using that structure then is such that people can use these manipulate to control strategies to get things done, that helps us remember our history. And that we're not going to be successful if we try to oppose. For the most part, opposing is not successful in any setting. Long ago, people started using this phrase, come alongside, come alongside. Well, if you can't come alongside your boss, because he ain't going to let you. If he's a wise boss and he's a Talmud, then what he's going to do is he's going to be asking you for information. And he's going to be inquiring of the group, what do you guys think? And smart leaders, Talmudic leaders, are always pulling for information and asking folks, do you agree? Do you agree? Do you disagree? How do you see it? because we need to surround this problem, and we've all got different personalities, we've all got different experiences, we all have different roles in this company. That's what a wise Talmud leader does. So, what do you want to do? If this is not a wise Talmudic leader, if all of the information from all of the people is not being asked for, then you know you're not going to get all of the collective wisdom that'll be applied for the success of the group. So say, can I ask a question? I think Joe's got something to say about this. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, Joe. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, but I know that your background is such and your experience is such that our conversations before have led me to believe maybe you've got something that we would all benefit from hearing. See, if you put Joe on the spot and you put Joe in a confrontational conflict mode and you say, Joe, you don't agree with this. Joe, don't you think we should be doing something else? What you've done now is you've silenced him. The odds are he's going to back off and recognize the threat of it being in conflict. And so what you're really trying to do is you're trying to play the role of the wise Talmudic leader. You're trying to take an opportunity here and there. You're not trying to take the lead. You're not trying to dominate. What you're trying to do is you're trying to say, can we check with Sally over here? This is kind of in her ballpark, but not so much. But I can tell you that I know her a little bit, and I know that her history and her background is such that she knows some stuff about this stuff, and we wouldn't even know it. And so she's humble enough. She wouldn't even say, I've been here and done that before, and here's what worked for us. So recognizing her humility and her desire to not raise conflict, can we just ask her? And Sally, is that okay with you? All of it is gentle. All of it is inquiring. All of it is respecting the authority that the culture is operating in. There you have it. Just one of many ways of going about this that you'll find in Pat Lencioni's book, The Advantage. And so if you do read that book, the next one to read would be the second one I mentioned last time, The Alpha Male Syndrome. If you get done with Pat Lencioni's book, The Alpha Male Syndrome will be an eye-opener and very helpful in the kind of situations that I just described, where you've got an alpha male or an alpha female who's just plain in charge and putting us at risk as a group. You can do this. It takes practice, but you can do this. See you next time.